Hey guys, um, this is gonna be a ramble video, and it's gonna be about folders. Now, it was sparked by two videos. First one was not related to folders, but what somebody thought a survival knife should be like. And I've thought about that. That person's opinion were, well, exactly that. His opinions. It should be full tank, carbon steel blade, and various other things. But today I saw a video from Cliff Stamp about the 0561. In case you don't know, the zero tolerance 0561 is basically the cheaper version of the Rick Hinderer XM18. I think the XM18 looks great. I think the 0561 from Zero Tolerance looks awesome. I was really looking into getting that knife. You can get it off Blade HQ for $260. And while that's a lot of money, if you fall in love with a knife, any knife nut will know, you're probably going to do whatever you can to get that knife. But first you will do some research, even if research means reading off some forums or YouTube, and that's kind of what we get for research, talking to people who own the knife. Now Cliff Stamp owned the knife via CKC Knives, or Knives and Stuff, Kylie Harris, and he tested it. He modified the grind because the initial grind was very steep. Now you get that with a lot of high-end folders. The makers will put a steep grind so it will retain the edge better, not chip, not roll, because the average customer maybe is not the knife nut. It could be just somebody who likes the knife and says, wow, this is a great gift, so they're going to use it so it doesn't chip, so it holds an edge great. They're going to put a steeper edge angle on the knife, which I get. And you can fix that. Worst case scenario, if you're like me, I don't mess with V-edges. I just get my Lansky system out and I put a 17, 20, 25 degree per side edge angle, and it works great. I don't need less than 20 degrees per side edge angle. It's just perfect. For my needs, it works great. So I can fix that. But Cliff said the edge retention on it was crappy. And sharpening it was harder than it should have been. I don't own an LMAX blade. I've only seen clips from people who do, and they said it's a good steel. I have a friend who worked with LMAX steel, and he said he was pleasantly surprised. So he didn't work with it that much, but he said he was pleasantly surprised, which means it's good. Now, the edge retention on the 0561 was not good. Sharpening it was not good. That is a problem. The geometry of the blade is not a problem. You can change that. More effort, whatever, you can influence that. But the heat treatment, you can't. And that problem probably arose through power grinding, maybe, and for certain faulty heat treatment, because Cliff proceeded to prying with the knife and that tip broke, and then he broke off more of the knife as he moved the knife further down. But it didn't just break like a normal steel would do. Any steel that has a proper heat treatment will first bend and come back, and then it will bend and go into the elastic phase where it bends and it doesn't come back, and then it would break. No, the 0561 that Cliff had just shattered, and that makes me believe that the heat treatment was faulty. End of story. Now, the knife is not warranted for prying. Zero Tolerance specifically says that. Okay, and I've posted the link to Cliff's video on a forum, and that was what people told me. It's not meant for prying, And then I got the argument A knife is a knife. It's not a pry bar. I got this argument over and over on my K-bar large heavy Bowie fail. A knife is not an axe. It's very difficult to refute that argument because it's true. It's like saying a cow is not a pig. That's true. But I think we got way past the point where a knife's only function is to cut through things. You have a kitchen knife and you can cut through things with that. If you're into the outdoors, there's a great knife. It's called the Opinel. It's made in France. And this is a great knife. Wooden handle, very comfortable. Carbon steel blade or stainless steel if you want it. It'll slice through wood very well because it has a very keen edge angle. It has a convex grind on it. Easy to modify, easy to sharpen, will hold an edge very well, I would say. And it can cut through wood, leather, food, whatever you need it to cut very well. And it costs you about $10, $15, let's say. And its only function is to cut, but also you can baton with this knife, you know? This is my first Opinel. First one I ever had. And I've batoned with this knife. I've locked it and batoned with it. And this is what I got. I messed up the blade, you know, it won't lock. But still, it's locked in and it won't close on my hand. Because the ring is here and no problem. Now, I baton with this knife. Now, but if you want to baton with an Opinel, you can just leave it like this so it won't mess up the blade and you can baton with it. Still, that's off topic. This knife will cut great. Much better than my Para 2. Much better. But you see, I can change the grind and the edge angle on the Para 2 to make it perform like this one. This one costs 6, 7, 8 times more than this one. So I would expect this to do better than this one. It doesn't for cutting performance, but I can adjust that. Now, for comfort in hand, you can't beat it. I can wear a glove. Still, why would I choose this knife? Because it's cooler. S30V, G10, drilled liners, compression lock, clip, you know, pocket clip, and it looks cool. So it's not just the destination, you know, it's the way to the destination, how you get there, and it does the job very well. But the Para 2 is more fun to own, have, and use. And it's the same thing. I made this analogy before, and I'm going to do it again. You can get a Volkswagen Rabbit, and you can drive that from point A to point B. It'll get you there, it gets the job done. You spend more money, much more money, you get a Ferrari. It'll get you from point A to point B. There's a difference. Comfort, speed, everything, right? Except for the fact that it'll get you to from point A to point B. But it's also the journey. How much did you enjoy the ride? Now, when you're buying a $260 knife, that is essentially built like a tank. It's a titanium frame, a G10 scale, just one, and LMAX steel, which is supposed to be pretty great. I've never worked with it, but I have heard that it is great. Well, much better than, let's say, HCR 13 MOV, like the BL05 for $12, 20 times less than the LMAX 0561. And this will take a great edge, hold it for a decent amount of time. And very keen also. This is a 17 degree per side edge angle. Very keen, and it'll hold it. So why then not the LMAX? Because although the materials are good, they did not put any money in the heat treatment, or just did it wrong because they didn't care. not much money in the people who grind the knives, the blades, and definitely no money in quality control. And I'm not expecting Opinel to check each and every blade for quality, for hardness, because it's a €10, $15, $13 knife. But I'm expecting when I pay $260 that they check. Now, the ZT0561 is not warranted for prying. However, if the blade is heat treated wrong, if it's too hard and it shatters, then shouldn't they replace it? Even though it was pried with, but we proved that there was a fault. It was a faulty knife from the get-go. It wouldn't hold an edge, hard to sharpen, and it shattered. That's my point. I paid $260 not to pry with a knife, but to have a better knife. A better knife than a $15 knife. And why? Because I love knives, and if you're watching this video, you probably like knives and steel and are fascinated by them. If you just want to get the job done, get an Opinel. You know, if you just want to split a piece of wood, get an axe. Don't go out and get yourself a diving sparrow boreal, you know, because this is a knife. It's not an axe, right? But if you do have this knife, and incidentally, Abe told me it's okay to split with it as long as you use your common sense and don't try to over split, like take huge logs, right? And he said if something happens to it and you are not being an idiot about it, he didn't use those words, but I'm saying he'll fix it. That's standing behind your product. Now asking $260 for a folder, that is crap, and leaving it to that, I don't respect that. Now, honestly, I wanted to get the 0561. That's why I looked up so many clips. I don't want to get it anymore. I still think the design is great. I've seen it, not live, but in clips. I think it looks awesome. But if I cannot trust it, that it, should I need it, it will cut and possibly even pry, I'm gonna stick with carrying my paramilitary and having this Victorinox knife, you know, as a backup or as a dirt knife, which I also keep very sharp, or an Opinel. You know, I'm gonna stick with that instead of getting a $260 knife that's not gonna do half as well or a third as well as China-made Sanrenmu BL05 in 8CR13 MOV. That's pretty much what I wanted to get across when I posted the link to the video in the forum, and when I kind of defended the argument that I don't think a knife should pry, but I think that steel should not have a problem if it's over 3 millimeters thick to handle a little prying without shattering, without behaving like glass. If the heat treatment's right, you can baton a 3 millimeter thick knife through a piece of wood and it will not break. I've worked very, very hard to break a Mora, my first Mora clipper. I worked hard to break it and it wouldn't break. So finally I had to pull it to one side and I jammed it into a piece of wood, and I wanted to see how much will it take. And it took it. And if big companies can't get better performance out of better materials for more money, then it's a shame. And I'm just saying, I mean, why buy a $260 knife just because it looks cool to have it in a display case? If that's your thing, I'm not judging. I think it looks cool. I think it'll look great. If you're carrying it without using it, that's also nice. I'm not using my folders that hard. I've never batoned, uh, for example, with my mini bone collector, I've never batoned with it. At the same time, I would like to think that should I need to do it, I have the option. And something can always go wrong. But for $260, I'm really expecting that they have a few people there that check. Was the heat treatment done right? Was the edge burned? Is it fully functional? And is it acceptable for us? Apparently for zero tolerance, it is acceptable. For me, it's not. So I'm gonna look elsewhere, and thank you for staying with me for this very long ramble. I wish you all a great day, and I hope this was mildly interesting.